As the national anthem protests have left this country divided, now the NFL, the National Football League, speaking up in order to bring the fans back, throwing its biggest Hail Mary yet, saying it may require players to stand up starting next season. Here to discuss, Tammy Bruce, Fox News political contributor and Washington Times columnist, along with Amy Holmes, a political analyst at Rasmussen Reports. All right, ladies, the NFL, the commissioner is sending out a lengthy letter to all the owners, in part saying, like many of our fans, we believe that everyone should stand for the national anthem. I'll start with you, Amy. Is it too little, too late, or can they fix this huge, huge issue that they've created for themselves?
Right. They're clearly trying to turn it around. And, Charles, I think this is more about profit than it is about principle, and that they're actually giving owners cover. They're saying, listen, we'll put out this blanket statement so that you can have your players standing for the national anthem and not take the hits, so to speak, individually if we make this as a group decision. But I don't think that this was something that was based on necessarily principle and patriotism. Ratings are down, and I can tell you at Rasmussen Reports, we found that 34% of adults said that they would follow the NFL less if the protests continue.
Right, and that dovetails with a lot of other polls that have shown popularity for the sport plummeting, and it was really an American pastime, Tammy. Right. But we did see Jerry Jones come out yesterday with a full-throated statement saying players are going to stand, despite the fact that he was involved in a kneeling situation. The same thing with the Miami Dolphins. If not the league, certainly individual teams are getting the message.
Yeah, they are. And what's interesting, though, is how seriously they misread the American public. That they're so cloistered in their own bubble, still very much like Washington and the unions. Remember, the players' union is under the NFL.
Is that arrogance or is that elitism?
I think it's a little bit of both. The two kind of are in the same envelope, aren't they? And this is where they begin to think only of themselves. Well, they did get a wake-up call. I think smart individuals are realizing that there is something very large here. In that letter, and the suggestion, though, is that during the season they would give them a platform for their issues. Here's what I'd suggest, is that those very rich young men, then during the season or off-season, choose a charity, choose an action they want to do, choose a city, choose something that they adopt, and that the NFL will then promote that issue for them. I think, though, at the same time here, I don't think the country's divided. Last Sunday, what was it? Maybe 20 more, maybe 20 or 30 individuals. Fact of the matter is, I think this is only about politics. Somebody thought it would be a good idea. Clearly it is not, and now they're backtracking. I don't know if it's going to be successful, but I do think it's a good idea to keep a player off the field, as Mr. Jones is suggesting, if they do kneel. And another idea came up today from Ed Morrissey at Hot Air. Why not just leave the teams inside during the anthem and let the fans
Although there are a lot
that.
of players who want to go out there and show their patriotism as well, though. So that might, you might be hurting someone who would like to exhibit their own patriotism because someone on this team doesn't feel the same way. Speaking of backtracking and blinking, Colin Kaepernick apparently now saying if a team picks him up, Amy, he will stand for the national anthem. I mean,
is that where he is now? Where was he 48 hours ago?
Oh, I'm sorry.
He keeps going back and forth and back and forth.
Okay, so we got to report that that's not true.
His girlfriend said no, that's not going to happen.
His girlfriend says no, so we're getting mixed signals.
Right,
there.
we're getting mixed signals.
But we did see
Kaepernick.
over this past weekend was something like Michael Bennett, for instance, who was one of the first 6 in the first week who kneeled. He stood up. He said it was for the victims of Las Vegas. I think that these players are looking for some sort of graceful way to bow out. They've bit off more than they could chew. They mistimed everything, and they are probably getting the message from the owners, the coaches, and their agents that this is dumb.
Oh, I think that's absolutely true. And we saw that the player who actually went out and put his hand over heart, a former service member, that his jersey became the #1 selling jersey. So these players, I think they're also protecting their brand. Look, if it's your brand to be the next Che Guevara and have your face on T-shirts for college students, okay, go ahead. Take that risk. Take that gamble. But I think for a lot of players, they know that it's not worth it.
We're talking to Villanueva from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, of course, now this is brought out and includes ESPN, where it's just gone all haywire. Jamel has been sidelined for 2 weeks. Jamel Hill, her co-host, Michael Smith, sat out the show last night. I'm not sure if he's going to sit it out again today. ESPN has found themselves in a very similar pickle. Their parent company is Disney. They understand that they make their money by making the public happy.
Well, they do. And her problem was, of course, before, of course, calling the president a white supremacist, that wasn't enough to get you suspended. But suggesting a boycott was. They've, I think, spent about $2 billion to get the NFL games on Sunday. And if you're going to have someone within there saying boycott advertisers, well, suddenly that affects, as you've noted, this is about money. So this was her second hit, and it was about money, something that would affect her stations specifically. But I do think that, again, the moment you signal that there's no teamwork, interestingly, with the NFL, that we're operating as a team, that there is a framework that we're all interested in, the moment that it's the individual interest there politically that is going to be the primary thing, everything will fall apart, because this is about entertainment. It's about sports. This is what you've chosen to do. If you want to be an opinion commentator, well, we enjoy doing this. This is what we do. But if you're not doing that, then stick to your business, make millions of dollars, which we're also not making, but make millions of dollars and put that to good use instead of really contrived demonstrations.
Pro athletes are entertainers. And if the person who owns the stage and pays them to play on that stage says, take your message somewhere else, I think that's absolutely within their rights to do.
The problem, though, is that the person that owns the stage didn't take a stand early enough.
No, they didn't. And they also sent mixed signals. So other political expression was not allowed in support, say, of the Dallas police officers who were murdered. That wasn't allowed on the field, but this was. So you had a lot of mixed signals. And I would say with Jemele Hill of ESPN, when I saw that, I was shocked. She was biting the hand that feeds her. And if she thinks that's going to really work with your employer, like I challenge you to boycott the pillows it is always advertising on Fox.
Well, here's the thing, though. Now you have Al Sharpton saying, hey, let's boycott ESPN until they rescind Jemele Hill's, suspension. So I'm telling you, it's become a concentric spiral into an area.
But it's the same players, though, isn't it, Charles? I've always felt that this really spoke of Barack Obama, that his nature as a community organizer, divisions based on race, involvement of the unions, and now one of Obama's main advisors, Al Sharpton, is chiming in as well. Look, I think it's also patronizing for him to do that. I think that Ms. Hill might want to step up and suggest who she would want or not want to have speak up for her. But she can take responsibility for what she's done. She should. This is about, we're all adults. This is very big business. But the main thing is, and I would, part of your point, Charles, is that this is about leadership. It's about owners of teams, leaders of networks, needing to stand for something instead of letting everything move chaotically.
And I would also point out that before the president's statement, very few NFL players actually were following Mr. Kaepernick's lead, that they did stand for the national anthem, and proudly so. And so maybe some of them actually feel like the pressure is off of them to be expressing militancy that they don't agree with.